What's up everybody, Crazy here, back into No Man's Sky. We have of course the June 11th update that has gone live a few hours ago on all of the platforms, I believe. At least at the time of making this video, it's available at least on the PC as well as the PS4 version of it. But I did manage to play around with many of the systems in the new update. These are basically my first impressions of it after playtesting all of these. But also I want to talk about some of the ongoing issues with the online play that prevent a ton of players, including yours truly, to take full advantage of the new update. So let's jump right into it, and as always, a thumbs up on this video would be super awesome. Anyway, I want to first address the fact that there's a lot of people out there who can't currently connect to the game, especially if you're on the PC and you're trying to load in like an old save file, or even if you're trying to load in game with a new save file, chances are that you're going to get blocked at the initial loading screen and then the game crashes, or if you manage to like get in the game, it takes a few seconds to fully crash or freeze the game entirely. At the very least, that's my experience for the past few hours on the PC. Oddly enough, the PS4 version of it doesn't have any problems for me at all, and I can even log in like the space anomaly with people on other platforms, even connect with people on other platforms even while online. So I'm not entirely sure what's happening, but I'm pretty convinced that Hello Games is working on a patch fix, and hopefully it arrives either later today or earlier tomorrow. Now, if you want to fix that, at least in part, there is one thing that fully worked for me on the PC version of the game, and that was completely shutting off the internet. You can either do that by simply unplugging your internet cable, or just going into your settings and disabling like the Ethernet setting over there, and it's most likely going to work, because I think that this issue that is freezing our games has to do with the online play. It doesn't matter if you have like multiplayer activated or not in the network settings. This doesn't seem to affect anything at all, at least on PC. It's just that the entire internet connection is what's causing these problems, and as soon as I disabled mine, I was able to like load in the game with ease. I was able to summon my space anomaly, even go into it, but obviously multiplayer was off and I wasn't able to see anybody else. On the consoles on the other side, you can also try this as well. Disable the internet, pull out the plug. I've heard from other people, and there's other reports out there that this has fixed their crashing issues and whatnot, and yeah, hopefully this is gonna get fixed. But I was talking about playtesting, and I did manage to actually playtest the new crossplay multiplayer, and I'm actually impressed. I think that there's a lot of potential to it. If you exclude the current ongoing issues, I think that there's some really high potential to this cross-platform multiplayer for a game like No Man's Sky. So first of all, the way you connect to other people is of course with these codes that now everybody has. So you have to like connect this with another player's account. If for example you're playing on the PC, you need to ask your friend for his or her code, and then manually introduce that code when you choose the option to add or invite a player. That's basically how it works. But once you have done that, you will see that now your friend, even if he's on a different platform, he is going to appear in your friends list, and from this point on it's really easy. You can just click on their name, and like it just takes a couple of seconds to do so, and from this point on you just have to like use any of your current available save files to actually load in their sessions. Now this is where it kind of becomes a little bit more interesting, because you don't actually load in a system where they use the portal to travel to. You actually load into their like home system. So basically you just need to ask your friend or use your other account to come back through the portal in their initial like space or location, and then you're going to be able to see them again. But here is where I was able to actually meet with my two characters, one from the PS4 with mine on the PC, which was actually quite a surreal experience. I will say this, some of the connections seem to be a little bit iffy, and from the other screen it appeared that the other account was kind of lagging behind a little bit, and it happened on both of the systems. So I think that the cross-platform, at the very least at the current time, is still not there yet. I think that it still needs some implementations, maybe some bug fixes to fix this, because all of this was on the same internet connection, which is like 1 GB speed. So it shouldn't be like problematic, but it is with all of these bugs that appear. Nonetheless, I did test a few things out, as I've said, and one of the first things that I was looking to was of course those VS4 bases. This was one of the things that I wanted to visit on a computer that can definitely handle some of those complex structures which the PS4 Pro kinda struggles with. So what we did here is I used one of these accounts, the one on the PS4, to go back to my portal base. I went through the portal, and when I reached the other side, of course, I looked at the coordinates. And I was kinda doubting that we would be transported in the same session, but I tried it nonetheless. So with those coordinates on my PS4, I've copied them on my PC, and I was actually able to travel to the other side on the other platform. And the most surprising part was that we were actually indeed in the same lobby on the same planet. My PC basically accessed the same version of the planet from the PS4, which meant that I was able to visit a really amazing base. Of course, at first I wasn't able to see it, even though the PS4 one was able to do so. So again, I traveled with my character from the PS4 on that base, and then I followed suit with my PC one. And lo and behold, I was surprised that the PS4 base actually loaded on my PC version of the game, which was a surreal experience to say the least. I was finally able to actually see a full-on base and like experience it in over like 100 frame rates per second, and not just like sub 30 like how it is on the PS4. Now here's where the other problems started to arise. First of all, these two characters weren't seeing the exact same things. Like some parts of the bases weren't loading for the characters in the same way. So for example, even though my PS4 character was able to see and interact with this specific room right here, my PC one was lacking it entirely, as if it never even existed or it was deleted, and after like lingering for a few more minutes, it still didn't load in, so I just gave up at some point. I also tested this with another base that I've covered a few months ago, the Drylight City, that's only on the PS4, and surprisingly enough, again, I was able to actually join that session and also see the base itself, though with a few hiccups, again, most probably from the backend. The fact that the base wasn't fully loading as I reached over there, it still took a few more minutes to fully load in, and even in that case, it was still like 95% complete, as there were a few patches missing over there. Like there were entire rooms that were completely missing, or just individual objects that still didn't load yet. And even though they were perfectly visible on the PS4 Pro, on the PC it was still not fully visible, and that kind of pissed me off at this point. I was really hoping to at least see Drylight City in like full glory 100 frame rates plus, but that was impossible. So yeah, this is basically how it works right now. There are a ton of bugs, and I really hope that Hello Games comes in and fixes them, because there is definitely some potential over there to make some really amazing things with all of these cross-platform possibilities. By the way, speaking of cross-platform, at the very least at the time of making this video, it seems that this can be disabled on the console version of the game, but not on the PC version of the game. And yeah, it works as you would expect. If you turn it off on the PS4, for example, it just disables all of the people in there that are on the other platforms and not the PS4, so eventually you're only going to be left with the other people that are on the PS4, and that's pretty much it. Some of the other changes were added with like the text to speech. Even there's a text translation option, so when you type in a certain language, I presume it's going to translate that, and also like have a voice chat that kind of narrates it, kind of like a narrator. I wasn't able to test it because, again, at the time of making this video, I am still encountering a ton of problems on the PC version of the game, so hopefully this is going to get fixed soon. Anyway, on a final note, one other thing that was added with this update was the fact that Iteration Ares on the Space Anomaly now sells upgrade modules, to be more specific. I think that this is actually a good change. After playing in game a little bit, I've tested around with this. I wasn't able to actually encounter any maximum rank upgrade modules for some reason. Not sure if it was system specific or just a bug, or this is the way it is, but I think that this is going to give you a nice additional option to get more good modules on top of the ones that you find at the space stations, since you're not going to have to go from one system to another in order to get additional ones. But anyway, this is basically it. By the way, if you still want to stay tuned and have a chat maybe later, there's the PS5 reveal event that's going to happen in just a few more hours. I am going to live stream it here on YouTube, so if you want to see the event yourselves, if you want to have a chat while it streams, if you want to talk about the supposed upcoming games, maybe we're gonna see some of that Horizon Zero Dawn, maybe some God of War 2, maybe some Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5, the Godfall game that was announced a while ago, and also maybe talk about No Man's Sky as well, since it's very likely that it is going to get some kind of compatibility with the PlayStation 5, since there's obviously a need for it. So yeah, I'm gonna see you in a bit. Thank you so much for watching, and peace.